Peace be unto this house. This is part one of a dozen ways to brainwash a Jehovah's Witness. History tells us that the mid-19th century, after the Civil War, was a chaotic time in the USA. Several Adventist magazines announced the return of Jesus in 1873. This news sold many magazines, and Adventist churches grew quickly. When Jesus did not return in 1873, an Adventist, Nelson H. Balboa, founded the magazine The Midnight Cry and announced the return of Jesus in 1874. When Jesus did not show up as Nelson H. Balboa predicted, the embarrassed editor was not willing to admit a mistake. He changed the name of the paper to Herald of the Morning and announced that Jesus did actually return in 1874, but it was an invisible return. Nelson H. Balboa had no witnesses and absolutely no evidence, spiritual, physical, or scriptural, that Jesus had made a return to earth in 1874. In December 1875, a young Adventist, Charles Tads Russell, read this outrageous fabrication. By the September of 1876, Russell was a financial backer and co-editor of the Herald of the Morning. These editors printed the invisible return of Jesus in 1874, and that saints would be called away boldly 3.5 years later to be with the Lord in the spring of 1878. When Jesus did not show up in 1878, as the editors planned, Balboa had new revelations. What a surprise. The editors had several disagreements on these new revelations and split up. In July 1879, Charles Tads Russell printed his first publication of his new magazine, the Zion's Watchtower and the Herald of Christ's Presence. He announced that Jesus had made an invisible return to earth in 1874 and was now ruling the earth from the heavens. Russell, with his 7th grade education and without evidence, printed this fabrication of Nelson Balboa. Modern tabloids use UFO sightings, three-headed dogs, and Elvis sightings to sell papers. Charles Tads Russell used the invisible return of Jesus in 1874 to sell his books and magazines. There's a wise old saying by the circus man P.T. Barnum: you can fool all the people some of the time, some of the people all of the time, but not all of the people all of the time. The first brainwashing principle is that some of the people can be fooled all of the time. Russell printed Balboa's fabrication as if it were a true biblical, spiritual, and physical fact. From this foundation, he made numerous outrageous and unsubstantiated predictions concerning the Lord Jesus Christ and Armageddon. It is amazing how many people were eager to read Zion's Watchtower and the Herald of Christ's Presence. There were some people that believed every word that Russell printed, no matter how outrageous the prediction. And when every prediction failed, they forgave him, and they believed the next set of predictions without question. Which brings me to a question, my friend. Can you tell the difference between a fairy tale and the doctrines of the Jehovah's Witnesses? The fairy tale starts out with once upon a time, and the Jehovah's Witness doctrine starts out with Jesus made an invisible return to earth in 1874. The cornerstone doctrine of the Jehovah's Witness is the invisible return of Jesus in 1874. This foundation has no evidence, scriptural, spiritual, or physical. With this doctrine, Russell located readers that would buy magazines and believe absolutely anything that he wrote in subsequent issues. Watchtower editors have used this same principle and have proven it to work for over 115 years. The first principle in how to brainwash a Jehovah's Witness is to print whatever outrageous thing that you want them to believe in the Watchtower.